So for this recipe, definitely going, with that classic Mexican Latin American theme, and we're gonna make a pozole. So a pozole,
what is a pozole?
Who don't know,
I don't know.
Yes, so it is. It's a traditional pork shoulder stew. Is usually what it is. And we're going to show you to make it. The base of the stew is using a lot of different dried chilies, but mild chilies, so nothing that's too spicy. And I'll go through the chilies in a second. Today we're not using pork shoulder. We're actually going to serve it with a base of quinoa, and then with a little bit of fish. So I'm going to start the fish. I'll show you in a second. We're using salmon. This is a Pacific salmon. Anytime I'm making a dish that might have a little bit more of an intense flavor. So we're gonna get a lot of richness from the chilies. We have some cumin, some other spices in there. I would want a fish that's gonna pair well with it, something that's got a little bit more fat. So choose something a little richer, like a salmon would be great, like a trout would be great. Something too mild, like sole or let's say, whitefish, would just completely overpower it. So not only, you're getting some great healthy oils from choosing a fish like this, but flavor-wise, it's going to really withstand some of the bigger spices. Add a little sheet of parchment paper. You don't want to go super high heat, so about medium-high heat is great. It's actually fire tested up to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. That's perfect. So I've got a medium heat. I'm going to get a really nice, even sear on that. Again, one of my favorite ways to cook fish now. Yes? Okay, so I've got my salmon searing there. I've got it on a medium heat, so it should take about 10 minutes. While I get all the rest of the ingredients together, we're trying to plan it out so it's finished at the same time. In this pot, I have just a little bit of onion and some garlic. That's it, a little bit of olive oil. And a medium heat, and I just want to sweat it. I want to caramelize it, get a little bit of color, and have that going in one pot here. Now for the base, this is the key for like a true pozole, true Mexican pozole, are the dried chilies. Now dried chilies, some people are intimidated with chilies, especially if they don't like the heat or they don't like spiciness. But there are so many different varieties that you can get out there now just for flavor. And these have been used throughout history to add to dishes and currency in some circumstances. And so what I have here, 3 different types. Use whichever one you want. At the back page, I've actually included a chili chart. So that sort of gives you a few different options you can choose from. It tells you the flavor profile and whether it's hot or mild. What you want to do with any dried chilies is just toast them a little bit in a dry pan, or even throw them in the oven just for like 3 minutes, just until you start to smell the chili, and it gives off an incredible aroma. From there, take the seeds out and then just put it into a bowl. So I'm using one of those. I'm going to use this one. This is a Posole chili.
And Jeremy's shaking the seeds out. What is he doing by taking out the seeds? Yes, so most of the heat is concentrated in the seeds, right? So he's shaking the seeds right out. You're gonna get the flavor from the outside of the pepper, less of the heat.
Yeah, and there's actually a couple things. So with a milder chili, there would really be no heat there. But if I'm making a puree, if I'm making a sauce, the seeds are very difficult to break down. So it's something that you really don't want to be...
You might be chewing on the seeds later. That's another good point.
Yeah.
It might not be the best.
Ancho chili, this is another great chili. It's almost like a sun-dried tomato, the flavor. It is unbelievable, fantastic. Cover those chilies with a little bit of warm water. And you just let it steep for about 3 minutes, just until it softens. So to the onions, garlic, we're gonna add a little bit of carrot. So the carrots go in with the onions and the garlic. And then we wanna add our seasoning, our flavors. So another, again, traditional spice to use is cumin, ground cumin, beautiful flavor. But again, this is where you can sort of adjust. So the pozole has been modified throughout the years, and everyone has their best version. They say best because everyone thinks they have the best version. We're gonna add a little pinch of that. Love the cumin. This is a little bit of Mexican cinnamon as well. I like cinnamon with the savory dish. All right, so lid on tight, important. And I'll let Christy do this.
Was anybody here for our mishap? I ended up wearing some soup one time.
So just until it purees most of the time, mostly through. The longer you let it soak, the easier it'll be to puree. But the color, see the color? Like super, almost like amber red, like beautiful, beautiful stuff. So that's going to be the stock for the soup here.
Infused with flavor.
Now, traditionally, for this recipe, we use white hominy. And actually, white hominy, another name for white hominy, this is corn. This is a white corn. Again, very traditional Latin American ingredient. The other name for this corn is Posole. Because it's typically used in this dish, but you don't have, if you can't find it, you don't have to use it. Again, I've seen it in some grocery stores. They usually keep it where they have like the tortillas and some of the other, like the salsa and stuff like that. They'll have white hominy, so it's a white corn.
Could you put yellow corn?
You can put yellow corn as well. Yeah,
cool.
For sure. So that's going to go in. So we have the hominy in there, the white corn in there, and then some quinoa as well. I love adding grains like quinoa that absorb the liquid that you add to it. So any of the cooking liquid, you usually use water. 2 cups water, 1 cup quinoa, and you cook it 15 minutes and you have your quinoa. But if you add something flavorful, that's all going to get absorbed into the quinoa. It's going to make it taste even better. So we're going to add a cup of quinoa. I'm eyeballing it here.
So you're already
It's not going to make or break the recipe.
This
really.
recipe, yeah, you can adjust a little bit here and there. We want to make sure we have the right amount of liquid.
And then the 4 liters. So I'm adding more than I need. 4 cups, yeah, whoa, 4 liters. 4 cups, 1 liter. I'm adding more than I need to actually cook the quinoa because this is more like a stew, more like a soup. So I wanted a little brothier. So that's going to go in.
Perfect. And our quinoa, it's really a seed even though we use it as a grain. So we're getting protein from it. It's rich in fiber. And with all of our whole grains, we're getting some B vitamins. So going back to how we were talking about paleo, it is considered to be a paleo food because it's more of a seed. You could use any whole grain that you want in this recipe because we're going to be adding some even more protein by having our fish as well.
So bring it up to a boil. Once it hits a boil, lid on top, reduce it to low, and let it simmer for about 20 minutes, just until the quinoa cooks. It takes a little longer to cook quinoa this way because there's all of these other ingredients in there, but about 20 minutes, that's all it takes. And then you have, let's get a bowl for this. So this one, magic of our kitchen, we made before. And you can see the color from this.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Really, really dark.
That can cook 20 minutes?
Yeah, 25 minutes. Yes. Yeah, it does not take long. I mean, it was a little longer just because it was sitting there. But just until you can see the quinoa is cooked, the quinoa is bloomed through. Super delicious, really, really tasty.
Think of all the flavor infused in there.
So this is good as is. This is, vegetarian.
This would be a nice recipe there. Yeah. Like a chili.
Like a chili.
Absolutely.
You
You
got
have a quinoa chili ready to go. You can stop there.